Hello, welcome back to the video tutorial series on how to make a 2D Minecraft in C#. In the last episode, we went over setting up Visual Studio for C# and opening a window in Raylib. In this episode, we are going to go over drawing shapes on the screen in Raylib, and a few things involving inputs and if statements. Those are going to be some things that are very foundational to our game. If statements are going to be a big part of the backbone of how we are going to build the game, because that's going to involve a lot of the cause and effect logic that will go into making things such as world generation, enemies, your character, and a whole bunch of other things. Alright, so let's get right to it. What we're going to do is after this Raylib pull input events, we're going to do another Raylib function called Raylib.begin drawing. That's going to start drawing, as it says here. Then we're going to do Raylib end drawing. And in here, we are going to do Raylib dot there it is, clear background. And we're going to clear that with a color of, let's see, we'll do sky blue. If you press the play button here again, that will fill up your window with this nice blue color here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a few shapes on the window. So the first one we're going to draw is a circle. So let's do Raylib, draw circle. And we will have, it has a center X, a center Y, a radius, and a color. Alright, so the center X and the center Y are going to be where it is on the screen. Let's say that we want it to be in the middle of the screen when we first open up the window. So the screen is 500, so we're going to get half of that. We're going to get 250 for the X, comma, and another 250 for the Y. And for the radius, we're going to give it a radius of 50. And for the color, we will do a color of, let's go with red. Now let's press this play button here. And we have a red circle in the center of the screen. Although if you notice, when you resize the window, the red circle is no longer going to be in the center. That's because the window is now bigger than 500 by 500. And if I resize it to here, it stays at that same spot. 250 on the X and 250 on the Y. And if you notice, it's not going from the bottom of the window, it's going from the top of the window down. If I were to set this to be 400, the circle would be lower down here. Now that's going to be something we're going to have to keep track of when we're making the game, is that in Raylib and in most 2D applications, for Y, usually on a graph you have X going along here and Y going along here. And I can show a visual for that. So let's say this is the regular graph here. Right here's the X, here's the Y, and usually on a graph, what you're going to have is 0 here, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Make that 3 a bit better, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And if you wanted to draw a circle at 2, 3, you'd go 2 on the x, 3 on the y, and then here's where the middle of the circle, and if we give it a radius of 1, let's go 1 this way, and we will draw the circle starting at around here. That's a very badly drawn circle, but essentially, with 2D applications, what actually happens with this? So if you wanted to make this go higher, if I move this up here, now it's at 2 on the x, 4 on the y. If I wanted it to go lower, now it's 2 on the x, 2 on the y. Right? With an application like Raylib, though, the coordinate system is a little bit different. So we would have the x up here, and the y going down like this. So we'll still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the x, and this is 0. But on the y, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So the higher the number, the lower you get on the screen. That's basically how it's going to work with Raylib and how we're going to be drawing things. That's why when you have the 400 instead of the 250, it's lower. So if we wanted to, let's say, draw another circle above it, let's draw a yellow circle above it. Lib, draw, circle, 250, 250. We'll do radius of 75, and color is going to be yellow. Let's run that now. You can see now it's 250. That's a lower number than 400. And this yellow circle, and it's bigger because it has a bigger radius, is above the red circle. So now, what if we wanted one of the circles to be able to move, right? So currently what we have been doing is we have been using functions. But now what we want is we want variables. So I'm going to show you an example of a variable right here. Before the while loop, we're going to type in a float. And this is a number with decimals. And we're going to call this x. And x is going to equal 250. And you can see there's a yellow line under here. This is saying the variable x is assigned, but it's never used. All right. You can still run it like that. It's just giving you a little bit of a warning saying you haven't used it yet. So let's use it. We're going to go to the yellow circle, and we're going to see how if I put my mouse over here, this will open up again. You can see how this says center x, center y. So we're going to, for the center x, instead of this 250 that we have here, let's say x. But if you look, it has this red line under it. So let's hover our mouse over it, and it says, cannot convert from float to int. All right, so if you see this button right here, this says quick fix. We're going to click on this and add explicit cast. If you look at this, this adds the word int in parentheses before this x. What that's turning the x from a float to an int, because if you look here, this center x needs an int instead of a float. You can also type this in manually. You can just type in the parentheses and int like that. So now if you press the play button, it's going to look the same as before. But now this 250 is up here. And if I were to change it to 400 up here and press the play button, now it's over here. So, since we're in an infinite loop, as I showed you like before, when I did the console write line, how it started writing out a whole bunch of stuff down here in the last episode, the infinite loop goes through all of this, then it goes back to the beginning, and it checks this in here, and then if it's able to run this again, it'll go through all of it again, go back, check this, and go through all of this, and this is happening thousands of times a second. But what we can do is, let's take this x right here, right? Type in x, and we're going to do another equals here, right? But then we're going to do a math function of x plus 1. And now we're going to press the play button. And you're going to see this yellow circle move off the screen really fast. All right. So now let's do x minus 1. And it's going to move to the left really fast. If you want to slow this down a bit, what you can do is we can do 0.1. What that's going to do, that is cannot convert double to float. So this 0.1 is a number that's called a double. If you put an F at the end, now it's a float. But just for the sake of convenience, what we can actually do, you can also change this from a float to a double. And now we can do 0.1. Floats and doubles are sort of the same thing, but a double can have more decimal places after this and still work. With a float, that wouldn't work. You could have maybe a decimal like that, but anything more than that, and it sort of stops working. But we don't really need to worry about that right now. Let's just do the x equals x minus 0.1, and it'll still move to the left pretty quick, but now it's a little bit slower than before. But what if we wanted to actually control which direction it moved in? So you know how we did the while here? We can also do something else called an if, and an if is kind of similar to this while, but it only happens once. It doesn't go over and over again, and an if is going to be sort of like a cause and effect. If I throw a ball, it's going to move, for example. So what we can do here is, if we press the A key, it moves, it does this, x equals x minus 0.1. So let's do that. If Raylib dot key down, right? This detects if a key is being pressed. Now it has this red around here, because we also need the parentheses here. And then we can type in the keyboard key dot A. Right? And after that, we need these curly brackets. And then we can grab this and move it into here. You can just click, you can just select the whole thing and then drag it and move it there. Or you can also erase that and type it in here too. But now, if we press the play button, it's not moving. But if I press the A key, it starts moving to the left. Alright, now what if we want to make the yellow circle move to the right? Alright, well then we'll do another one. If Raylib dot is key down, keyboard key dot D. And we'll do x equals x plus 0.1. And now we can move to the left if we press the A key, and then we can move to the right if we press the D key. But what if we also want to move up and down? Alright, well then, the next thing we can do, let's take this 250, right? And we will make a Y variable. So we'll make another double, Y equals 250, right? And just like we did for the X here, we can do int cast for Y. And now we will do if Raylib dot is key down, in parentheses, keyboard key. Oh, I typed in keyboard wrong. Key dot W. And we will do Y equals Y minus 0.1. And then if Raylib dot is key down, keyboard key dot S, Y equals Y plus 0.1. And now we can move the yellow circle all around the screen. But also, what if we wanted to make the circle move a little bit faster? Well, let's make another variable in here called double speed equals 0.1. And we can go in here and replace this with speed here and go through all of these, replace this with speed, and save it. And you can go to File, Save, or if you look here, it says press Control and S, and that will also save it. Now we can run it, and it's going to look the same as before, but now the 0.1 is in this speed variable here. So a fun thing we can do is this: if Raylib dot is key down, keyboard key dot shift. Oh, left shift. We can do speed equals speed times 4. That's this little star key. It's right under the 8 on the keyboard. And we can press the play button. I'm going to make the window bigger here. Start moving it around here. You can see it moves a little bit slow. But if I press the shift key and run it, now it is moving faster. Alright, so that's going to be about it for this episode of how to make a 2D Minecraft game in C#. In the next episode, we are going to be learning how to use classes to create a player that has gravity and can walk around and jump. So, that's going to be it for this episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.